Ladies and gentlemen, reaction. This is Hunting the Bismarck, the mighty HMS Hood. Extra history part 2 by the channel's extra credits. Yeah, we saw the part 1. I know what the Hunting the Bismarck was. So when I started, I realized, oh, look at that. It's a ship that Germans had in the World War II, right? And it was way too OP, I guess, a thing to flex for Nazis, I guess. Yeah, so I said in that video that how Nazis were way too OP in certain ways. Obviously, you can interpret it anyway, but yeah, in certain ways, like I said, like this overpowered ship, there are lots of overpowered equipment. They had tanks, jet planes and things like that. Obviously they ran out of resources, basic fuel and lots of things, in the end. So Germany was always ambitious. Nazis, basically, not just Germany, Nazis were ambitious. The way they wanted to take over the world always was kind of short-sighted, because if you forcefully try to take over the world like that single-handedly, you are going to run into issues like they did. The resources issue, the fuel issue, they didn't have lots of raw, basically, materials to create things. But as a technology goes, they had really OP things like the Bismarck. So basically around this time, everybody was fearing Bismarck. That is something, right? One ship at the time, like global war. People are like, oh shit, it's Bismarck. That is so surreal. That's like some superhero movie type stuff right there. So, they were fearing Bismarck. They found the Bismarck. Now think, the Royal Navy's, top ship, I forgot the name. Or whatever. So Royal Navy's top ship is now going to battle with Bismarck in this one. Obviously, Bismarck being OP. We'll see who wins. If I were to guess, I'm going to guess, that Bismarck is probably going to, sunk a few ships here and there, causing horror and terror. And somehow they're going to, I guess, destroy the ship, because that's what the series is. They're going to destroy the ship, I guess. So yeah, this is the second part. I think there's 2 more parts remaining. So it's not going to happen in this one, but yeah. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction. There's a link in the description. Check out the cast for different places. Check out the cards, and yeah, let's watch this one.
The HMS Hood and Prince of Wales plow toward the Bismarck and destiny. This episode is sponsored by Wargaming. Download World of Warships and use the code EXTRA1 for free goodies. Link in the description. When we left off, the British had finally located the battleship Bismarck and the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen as they steamed south through the Denmark Strait. And with Admiral Tovey and the rest of the home fleet still hundreds of miles away, it was clear that the Hood, pride of the Royal Navy, and Prince of Wales were the only ones that could possibly stop the behemoth. But to understand what's about to happen, we need to understand...
Hold up there. I think I'm mistaken something. I think Hood is the pride of the Navy, right? Not the Prince of Wales. Yeah. The mighty HMS Hood, that makes sense. Hood is the, that's the main ship.
State of the Royal Navy in 1941, and how interwar limitations held back their naval development. For that, allow me to turn things over to Wargaming's military expert, Richard Cutland.
Following World War I, a series of maritime treaties constrained naval development in the hopes of defusing an international arms race. At first, these treaties limited the number of new ships and set limits on the size and armament of new vessels. But later agreements eliminated the possibility of building new battleships completely. As a result, in the interwar period, Britain was forced to modernise old ships instead of building new ones. For example, the HMS Hood looked strong enough to any outside observer, but the British Admiralty was well aware of its main drawback: a weak horizontal defence, especially at deck 25, which was only 76mm thick. Plans to strengthen the horizontal armour had been developed back in 1927. But these works were postponed due to financial problems.
So HMS Hood is not the new ship. They reinforced it because there was a treaty. Is that it? Damn. Germans are not playing with that rule. They just made a brand new Bismarck.
In the end, they never happened at all. And this made the ship vulnerable to long-range plunging fire that fell directly down on its deck. These treaties also constrained new battleships, like Prince of Wales, to quite conservative designs. Their armament consisted of 2 4-gun turrets and 1 2-gun turret, all in a 14-inch caliber that complied with treaty limitations. Meanwhile, Germany was quietly violating these treaties with ships like Bismarck that had 15-inch guns.
Hitler just went there in the factory. I want to create the best of the best of the best ship. We'll call it Bismarck for obvious reasons. Should we follow the treaty? And Hitler just looks at him, just, so psychotics, they laugh. Treaty? Are you high? I wanted the best ship that is possible.
So even though Prince of Wales was brand new, it was underpowered at launch. In addition, the brand new Prince of Wales had teething problems. Sea trials revealed that her revolutionary quadruple gun turrets were prone to break down under strain, and this problem hadn't yet been fixed when she deployed with Hood. However, Prince of Wales was more technologically advanced than the Hood, particularly since she had modern rangefinders. And crucially, both Hood and Prince of Wales were fast, and speed was what the Royal Navy needed in an interception force. Back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Cutland. So that's the situation. The capable but vulnerable Hood and untested Prince of Wales are about...
I understand now. The Hood is the mighty Hood, so big-ass ship, the pride of Royal Navy, but still because of treaties, reinforced and things like that had weaknesses. It's not completely new. Or Prince of Wales is the newer ship, but again, constrained with treaties, it's not as good, but it has some great technologies in it. But obviously, none of them are come close to Bismarck because Hitler didn't care about any rules or regulation. He just built the best thing he could.
About to take on the largest and most modern warships on Earth. 24th of May, 05:37 hours, the Denmark Strait. Our British sailors have gotten little sleep, knowing that they would intercept the Bismarck at dawn. On the Prince of Wales, civilian contractors...
Oh God, imagine that. Oh, we got our assignments, people. Let's go. What are we doing? Yeah, we're going to hunt that, the mystical, almost mythical Bismarck that everybody fears. Everybody just looks at it, fuck, we're gonna die.
Have worked through the night repairing its turret guns, whose hydraulic systems are acting up. Most of the Prince of Wales crew are fresh recruits, and they're nervous. But the presence of the Hood stills their jitters. Just then, a lookout on Hood sees smoke on the horizon. The Bismarck and the Prinz Eugen. Admiral Holland sends a ciphered message to the rest of the fleet. From Hood, enemy in sight, am engaging. But Holland's running almost parallel to the enemy, the four ships converging slowly as they head southwest. That's no good. Not only does he need to get between Bismarck and the Atlantic, but the Hood's thin deck armor will be vulnerable to plunging fire unless he gets within 9 miles. By cutting a path directly toward the Germans, he'll close the distance as fast as possible and be harder to hit, but it'll also have his firepower since his rear turrets can't join the fight. But there's nothing for it. The Bismarck could still evade. Holland turns to an interception course and orders full speed ahead. At 05:52 hours, Holland orders Prince of Wales to target the lead ship. But the gunnery officer on the Prince of Wales, working with more modern optics, makes a startling realization. The Hood has targeted the wrong ship. Bismarck and Prinz Eugen have similar silhouettes, and the Germans have defied convention by sending the lighter armored heavy cruiser first. He tries to communicate this to the Hood, but it's too late. The Hood opens fire, wreathing the vessel in dirty brown smoke. Seeing this, the desperate gunnery officer defies the Hood's order, targets the Bismarck, and fires. On both ships, the gunnery officers look at their watches, waiting. 50 seconds later, pillars of water...
Yes. Oh shit, didn't hit it. So first of all, they're like, oh, hit the Bismarck. Oh shit, it's not the Bismarck. Everybody just start to feel cold right there. Oh shit, we just gave away our thing. We just gave away our surprise of attack. It wasn't even Bismarck. Now Bismarck knows that we are shooting. And it didn't even hit them. Obviously, Bismarck can hit them. It will have massive range.
Leap up in front of the German ships. The salvos fall short. Worse still, one of the guns in Prince of Wales' B turret malfunctions, taking it out of the action. Both ships are readjusting their aim when flashes of light run up and down the German ships. A long-range artillery duel has begun. 2 minutes later, a shell from Prinz Eugen crashes into the Hood's upper deck, detonating an ammunition locker. It burns with pink flames, anti-aircraft shells cooking off in bunches like firecrackers. On the Hood's bridge, the crew can hear the screams of their burning shipmates coming through the voice pipes. Admiral Holland keeps calm, but then huge columns of water leap into the air ahead of the bow, and he finally realizes that he's been shooting at the wrong ship. He hastily sends the order to retarget the Bismarck and orders a turn to port in order to bring his aft turrets to bear. It will expose him side-on with the enemy, but with luck, the Hood's turn will pass just inside the 9-mile mark and shield him from plunging.
I feel like, Hitler deliberately did that, right? Keeping the Bismarck in behind rather than what normally people do. because he knows anybody trying to take out Bismarck will attack the ship in front. So that ship is just a bait to make sure that Bismarck doesn't get hit the first. So now Bismarck knows where the enemy is coming from, and Bismarck is gonna attack like that. I feel like that was a tactical choice.
Fire. The turn comes just in time. Bismarck's next salvo thunders down right where the Hood had been headed. With all fire concentrated on Hood, Prince of Wales has been free to get range on the Bismarck and scores at least one hit. But her intricate 4-gun turrets aren't holding up to the strain, and every few salvos another gun goes out of action. It follows Hood into the turn.
Look, I understand the treaties and everything, but the design like that is really fucked up. If you shoot a few shots here and there and it starts to malfunction, that's really flimsy thing, right? Yeah, you can't rely on that. And Hood's deck is extremely weak. I mean, obviously anybody shooting from the distance, it's easier to hit the deck because it would always plummet down and hit the deck. There's a high chance of that. So yeah, I know there's a treaty or something, but as soon as the war started, right? They should have said the fuck the treaties, and the war started, and they should start to do something about the reinforcement right then. Rather than, maybe it's, it takes a long time and they didn't have time or something. Who the fuck knows? Let's just have it up though.
Facing the German ships side on. A salvo from Bismarck brackets the Hood, shells landing on either side of the vessel. The Prince of Wales's commander, Captain Leach, knows that once a ship is bracketed, the enemy has you. He sees the Bismarck's guns flash in double time and trains his binoculars on the Hood to see the result. A shell plunges down on Hood's deck, just aft of the mainmast, and disappears. 2 seconds later, the middle of the Hood erupts like a Roman candle, spraying flames hundreds of feet in the air. As Leach looks on, horrified, a colossal explosion tears the ship in two, the stern rising up out of the water as the bow sails forward under its own momentum. Yellow smoke blankets the carnage. In all the smoke, the Hood's bridge crew don't know where they've been hit, or how badly. Bodies begin raining down on the bridge, thumping off the roof and landing on the wings. From below, the helmsman reports through a voice pipe that the steering isn't answering. The ship begins to list, first to port, and then capsizing 45 degrees to starboard. There's no need for an evacuation order. The crew lines up single file at the port side hatch, waiting their turn to scramble out. The squadron's navigating officer stands aside, letting junior seamen go first. One crewman glances back. He sees Admiral Holland still sitting in his command chair, going down with his ship. Seconds later, the sailor steps off the Hood and into the freezing water of the Denmark Strait. Above him, he sees the majestic lines of the Hood, sinking in a V formation. A turret fires a last defiant salvo before it slips into the water. And then the suction pulls him under. On the Prince of Wales...
Oh my god, while he was sinking, somebody actually shot it. So while the water is filling up, they're like, fuck that, I don't care about my life, I'm gonna shoot still if I can. Oh, there's something. And the admiral just went down with his ship. That's just heavy, man. I mean, understand, the guy's decision to do that, that happens a lot. But still, live to fight another day, man. You don't get admirals left and right. You don't get experienced military people like that. But yeah, damn, that was just fucked up. So let me get this straight. The pride of Royal Navy, which is probably an old ship that was reinforced because of some treaty, which has massive flaws in it. Treaties basically handcuffed it, so it can't be that good. Versus a Bismarck, which saw no treaty, because Hitler can give a fuck about a treaty, used the most pristine material and things and technologies to build it, and Bismarck won. Who would have thought? Of course this was about to happen. Fucking hell. Man, Bismarck that's why it's so terrifying, right? Because of a treaty. Everybody was following treaty, Hitler was not. And there you go, Bismarck. That's just fucked up, man. Maybe, why didn't they send a lots of ships after Bismarck if Bismarck's so powerful, right? How many ships can Bismarck sink, alright? Sooner or later, somebody will basically finish it off. I guess that's what they're going to do in the future.
Wales, Captain Leach orders an evasive maneuver to avoid colliding with Hood's rapidly sinking stern. It disappears underwater as they pass. Nothing remains of the Royal Navy's largest and most famous ship except a burning debris field. It is now one malfunctioning ship against two.
God, imagine the morale, right? The war's going on. Oh, there's this guy Hitler. He's a Nazi, right? They're way powerful. They're taking over the world. Fear him. Boo. All right. And now you remember that ship that everybody used to look up to. Everybody enlisted into the Navy because of that ship, the pride of the Royal Navy. Yeah, it just sank by a Hitler's ship. Hitler sunk the pride of Royal Navy. Imagine the psychology of people, right? The morale dropping as soon as people hear that. It's written in the papers. Everybody hears that in the next day.
Leach has sailed right into the Hood's former position. The Germans barely have to adjust their rangefinders. But just then, a salvo from Prince of Wales straddles Bismarck. Leach nods approval. Now that Prince of Wales has the correct range, she can... bang! One compartment below the bridge, the navigation officer hears a crash above him. He shouts into the voice pipe, asking if everything's all right. At first, there's no answer, and then a stream of blood dribbles out, staining his charts. Leach gets unsteadily to his feet. One of the Bismarck's shells has hit the bridge and passed through without exploding. His entire bridge...
Is this a horror movie? What the hell? It's like, what's happening up there, and the bloods come out. People need to understand that real world battles, real world wars are no short of horror movies, right? This kind of shit happens a lot. That's why anybody who's not prepared go to war, basically shit their pants as soon as the war starts.
Crew lies dead, except for 2 wounded officers. For 3 hellish minutes, shells pound the Prince of Wales. The armor belt takes multiple hits. The boat deck catches fire. In one of the turret magazines, a shell punches through the deck and lands, still live, next to a sailor's foot. The magazine crew is told to hang on to it until ordnance disposal arrives, but they're not waiting. They lift the shell up out of the turret and gingerly carry it across the deck amid a full-scale battle. With a sigh of relief, they pitch it over the side. Captain Leach knows he's been outfought.
Oh, there's a live ammo just there. You should wait for that. You wait for what? Where's my napkin or whatever? Let's just lift it and throw it in the water.
He turns to withdraw, making smoke to cover his retreat. The Bismarck, curiously, does not follow. Keeping well out of range, Leach brings the mauled Prince of Wales around to join the cruisers shadowing Bismarck. He signals the Admiralty. Hood has blown up. 1 hour after the Hood's sinking, a destroyer arrives to look for survivors. On deck, they have rafts, life belts, and blankets lined up and ready. The medical crew is prepared to treat hundreds. Instead, they pull 3 oil-slicked survivors out of the water. 3 out of a crew of 1,418.
Whoa!
10:22 hours, the Admiralty. Faces are
Wait a minute, is this HMS Hood is the one? I think, one of those stats video, top 5s or whatever, maybe dark 5 video or whatever. They say the biggest casualties, during in the ship or something. People talk about some ship, there were 1,400 or so died during the World Wars. I think it's HMS Hood, right? This is the incident they talk about. This is one of the highest, life loss that ever was, I guess, something like that. Top 5 or something. I remember, watching some video which talks about during the World War II time, a ship got sunk and it killed 1,400 or so people. I think this is that one, HMS Hood. Damn, this is fucked up. Bismarck did that. Of course, Bismarck is not going to follow. They're like, we are mighty Bismarck, untouchable. Why would we follow? They're going to come to us eventually.
Grim in the Admiralty's war room, 200 feet below the streets of London. The shock of losing the Hood is compounded by the knowledge that German battleships were now in position to prey on vital convoys. But as the news settles in, bleak horror gives way to determined rage. The phone rings. It's Prime Minister Churchill with a personal order for every able ship in the Atlantic.
There you go.
Direct and to the point. Admiralty cipher officers broadcast the order wide. The aircraft carrier Ark Royal receives the signal at Gibraltar and begins to unpack its torpedo bombers. Tovey's home fleet receives the message as they race to join the stricken Prince of Wales. The battleship Rodney, headed for a refit in Boston, gets the signal and slowly turns its 16-inch guns back toward Europe. The airwaves are thick with this one message. Sink the Bismarck. Sink the Bismarck. Sink the Bismarck.
I called it. Of course it is. So Prime Minister, HMS Hood just, it's bottom of the sea. There's nothing to do. It's just done. It's just done. Bismarck killed it. And he's like, you every single ship killed Bismarck. Kill it now. Man, next episode is gonna be fun. So I guess every single ship they can muster is gonna go against Bismarck and sink it. Damn, that's just fucked up. And it's not that over the top to think, right? Oh, Hitler had a ship which is way overpowered, and every ship in the Atlantic needed to attack the ship to sink it. Everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. They were Nazis. That makes sense. That's just fucked up, man. Alright, people, that was Hunting the Bismarck, the mighty HMS Hood. I like to analyze things like this, the psychological side of it. And I bet when the news spread, the HMS Hood just went down, the morale would have been so shot in the entire country. I'm not talking about just military. Every civilian people, everybody, everywhere. Like, oh, the mighty Hood is down. I think that's why Churchill just said, you know what, we can't let this go. We have to immediately do something to bring the morale up back again. Like, okay, Bismarck killed the Hood, we killed the Bismarck, something like that. That's why he immediately, sent out the message, like every ship attack Bismarck now. As soon as it possible, kill Bismarck. So we can spread the word like Bismarck's down. Alright, people, that was Hunting the Bismarck, the mighty HMS Hood. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, check out the Rick Sunday, there's a link in the description, check out the cast play, check out the cards, and I'll see you next time.